Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Intersect. I'm your host, Aaron Smith, and today our interview features Mr. Rick Stevens, who died on September 5th, a week ago today. This interview originally aired on the TV program Story Connection, hosted by Miss Dänna Wilberg, and she has given us permission to broadcast the audio portion of that interview here today. Ms. Wilberg is a producer, author, and TV host. If you would like to contact her, please visit the Intersect Facebook page. We've listed her contact info there. And believe me, it's a very special interview for you today. And I'd like to personally thank Danna for her generosity in allowing us to broadcast it here. Mr. Rick Stevens. He was a former lead vocalist with my favorite band, Tower of Power. He sang on their first two albums, East Bay Grease and Bump City, and is especially known by Tower fans for his performance on the songs Sparkling in the Rain, or that Sparkling in the Sand, and that infamous tune, You're Still a Young Man. Columnist Scott Harold of the Mercury News recently wrote, Rick Stevens led an extraordinary life that touched the extremes of the human condition: fame, disgrace, murder, and redemption. It's a fascinating story because Mr. Stevens was convicted of murder and sentenced to the death penalty for killing 3 people in 1976 during a drug-related incident. But God had a different plan for Rick. And in 2012, after 36 years in prison, he was a free man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Story Connection. I'm your host, Dänna Wilberg. Everyone has a story to tell, but not everyone's story reads like a fairy tale. Today, we're sharing a story that contains disturbing content, and we ask that you watch at your own discretion. We're here with Rick Stevens, the original co-lead singer of the world-renowned Tower of Power band. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the 60s claim to fame. Unfortunately, like many other icon musicians, Rick Stevens fell victim to the times, and drugs became his downfall. After spending 36 years in prison, Rick has come to grips with his demons and is now traveling the road to redemption. Rick may be remembered for his hit, You're Still a Young Man, but one of his most memorable moments is when he became a free man. Welcome, Rick. It's so nice to have you on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I've been trying to get you on here for a while, so the fact that you're actually here and talking with me today is a real pleasure for me.
Well, it's been a long, loving, friendly relationship, and I'm just so pleased to be with you again.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, let's start at the beginning. How did you happen to hook up with the Tower of Power?
I was in a group with the eventual guitar player that joined the Tower when I did, a group playing down the Bay Area, Peninsula, after-hours clubs. And the Tower would, that guitar player was Willie James Fulton. And that brought out a lot of musicians, especially after-hour gigs. Everybody came and hung out. And the Tower, being that they were 16, 17 years old, quite a few of them in the band at that time, they would call themselves the Motowns, they called themselves the Black Orpheus, until we eventually chose the name Tower of Power off of a list of names. And they would sneak in the club, and they'd bring their horns, and we were playing primarily the same music that group at that time was playing. We're doing James Brown and Otis and Wilson Pickett, and whatever top 40 tune was hot, we do it. And so would the So with the Tower, because they were playing skating rinks and parties and what have you, teenage gigs. And so it just came, just eventually just fate that we would all meet. And at that time, Mimi's brother Jack was leaving the band. He was the drummer. And the guitar player Jody Lopez was leaving. So I joined along with Willie James. David Garibaldi was just getting out of the service. Greg Adams was joined on trumpet. So it all just kind of come together like destiny.
Yeah. So when you changed the name, were you about to go into a recording studio, or is that why you changed the name to Tower of Power, or how did that come about?
No, it just seemed like there were a lot of name changes. I had gone through quite a few groups. I had my group Rick and the Ravens, and the group at the time with me and Willie James was called Stuff. And it was a 4-piece rhythm section, just hot. And the Tower loved us, and we loved the Tower, especially when they brought their horns and sat in with us. It was just a great mix, great combination of musicianship and soul and funky music.
Oh, fun. So how long was it before you cut your first record with them?
When we joined forces, when the actual group that you saw on East Bay Grease and on Bump City and later groups until there was a gazillion changes, it was probably about a year. I think we did East Bay Grease in 1969, maybe 70, I'm not sure, but it was during that heyday.
Yeah.
And before you know it, there it was, and Sparkling in the Sand just took off, gave us some notoriety. We hooked up with Santana. We hooked up with Creedence Clearwater Revival. And Aretha saw us at a NAMM show. She chose us to be, she told Bigger, child, I want that band on tour with me. So it was just a good karma that we had at the time, and good musicianship. And everybody respected us and liked our sound. So, like I say, Carlos and the boys and the Fogartys, they took us under their wings. And it was the exposure we needed.
Yeah. I heard Aretha kind of took a shine to you.
Aretha, bless her heart. Yes, Lord. But it was, I was just ripping and running, you know. So it was not to be, bless her heart.
Oh. Well, I hate to get to the dark stuff, but how did your career sort of dissolve once you got into drugs? How did that all come about?
I started using serious drugs, heroin and cocaine, methamphetamines. It was probably 1968, that era. And by the time it came about with the Tower and hobnobbing with Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and all the majors that were happening at the time. Not Aretha. She's cool. She didn't play none of that stuff. But everybody in the business, the environment was so prevalent drug-wise that, I got caught up in it. And before you know it, there I was, snorting and shooting up like a jackass in a jumpsuit with the rest of them. Wow.
So eventually your relationship with the Tower sort of, you weren't making your gigs, what happened? No,
I was always making the gigs. It was just, there were a few times we were late, but we always made the gigs. Yeah, eventually. But it just came a point in time where it was just so much chaos, so much drug involved, and so many, ladies and what have you. And it just became so chaotic that I had lost all feeling for the music at that time. There was some internal changes that went down that I didn't like. There was some guys that got excused from the band. I didn't think it was cool. So I stepped away, and they talked me back. It's coming back in, and I came back in, and that was with eventually Lenny Pickett, who's the Saturday Night Live music director, Chester Thompson on keyboard, Bruce Conti on guitar. And I came back and joined the band, and that became the group that I recorded with on the second album for Warner Brothers called Tower of Power. And eventually Lenny Williams, who I befriended, he took my place in '74. Wow. Yes, Lord.
So you're still a young man. Did you write that?
we all shared writing and publishing props, and that was on the Bump City album, our first one for Warner Brothers. And as soon as we hit that tune, as soon as we started to rehearse it, we knew we had something there. Just like we knew when we did Sparkling in the Sand.
Yeah.
Just a great production. And as it came about, we got the word of mouth going of all the clubs we were starting to play, the Keystone and Frenchie's over in the Peninsula and Hayward. And so at some point in time, Bill Graham's people heard about us and sent a producer, David Rubinson, over to check us out at one of the gigs we did. They liked us, and we came to Fillmore, and every Tuesday night they would have auditions. So we did an audition for Bill and the people, and knocked them dead. Just knocked it out the park. And next thing we know, Bill wanted to sign us to a contract, and we went that way, and lasted just the one album. And then after that, we moved on to Warner Brothers.
As we were chatting before the show, you were saying that some of the best songs were written just in conversation. That you guys, where you going tonight? Down to the nightclub. Exactly. And next thing you know, you have a song. Yeah.
All the cliches, the metaphors, and all the hip kitty, hip city terminology we use with each other. It became a title, and then we just expound and just developed a song, and the music would come along, and it worked.
Wow,
it worked.
Those were the times.
Oh my Lord! Shoot, yeah. What happened to the world that day?
Oh, well. So, what happened after you left the band? You're really heavily addicted to drugs. Your life is really kind of spiraling.
Yes, it was.
Going down the tubes.
Yes, it
How
was.
did you got involved with these drug dealers? And do you want to talk about that?
Well, they were not the only drug dealers. They were the only ones that were just really getting real psychedelic with me, and I had to confront them. But prior to that, they were just always drug dealers, and I mean. The ladies had their own little goodies too. So we would always meet somewhere after the gig, the after party, and sure enough, there would be a lot of musicians, and everybody had money. And in fact, I remember Robin Williams saying that cocaine's God's way of letting you know you got too much money. So at that time, oh, you Lord have mercy. At that time, it was just so prevalent and so rampant in the business, and the environment was just sex, drugs, rock and roll, like you said, and their little rhythm and blues, and the Latin salsa thing started kicking in with Pete and, Sheila Escovedo, Coke Escovedo, Malo, Azteca, all those groups, War, all those groups were just a part of the whole rock and roll, rhythm and blues, different genres that were happening, and the people loved it. Oh,
absolutely. I do remember those days.
Yes, I know you do.
They were phenomenal. Oh, so, I've known you for quite some time now, and, you're so positive. You're such a sparkly person.
Amen.
But there had to be a dark side of you that got into the scrapes that you got into, and how you was it the drugs? I mean, you mentioned that you really weren't yourself. That was one of the reasons you kind of lost your passion for music.
Sure.
So how did you get into that place where you decided enough was enough?
Well, anybody that's ever been strung out realizes how strong, how potent those chemicals are, and you become addicted. And it comes a point in time where you just got to have it. It's like sustenance, food, water. You got to have the drugs, and it's a sick existence. But it's the only thing at the time that would just shield me from all responsibility, all really concerned about anything other than copping and just getting high. And it took its toll on me, and all during the time with the tower, like I say, from '68 on until I kicked, in county jail in 76, it was all about getting high.
Wow.
Jackass in a jumpsuit is that's how I like to call myself, running around.
So, what was the final straw? What just made you so crazy that you decided that these people just had to go away?
Well, it was definitely craziness. The whole concept of getting loaded and trying to survive and exist. And I met not only these drug traffickers, as I found out they were doing some serious things internationally. Mm-hmm. It came to a point in time where I just had to confront them about the threats and all the violence that they were talking about doing to me and my family. Mm-hmm. They wanted me to sell drugs or sell guns, and they were doing their trip at schools, selling whatever their goodies were. Yeah. And I just refused to do that. And came a point in time when I just had to confront them and devised a plan to meet with them. And when I did get to the house, all hell broke loose. Yeah. I made some terrible, tragic mistakes, which I have been trying to make amends for and pay back for, and just ask forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And, nothing nice. It's nothing nice.
Yeah. Wow. So, you were convicted?
Oh, yes.
You went to prison?
Given the death penalty.
Let's talk about that, because we had Darren and I, Darren Shepard, who produced some short film on your life. Mm-hmm. We were reading the transcripts, and there was some crazy stuff that went on. I mean, you were given the death penalty. What happened that overturned this?
The Supreme Court, bless their hearts. They found the death penalty cruel, unusual punishment, the Eighth Amendment, and there was quite a few other states. I think it was Alabama, Maryland, Virginia. It's about 3 or 4 states that the U.S. Supremes, in conjunction with the California Supreme Court, mm-hmm. found it to be unconstitutional. Wasn't there a narrow margin, though, between when you were sentenced and when that was supposed to transpire? Yeah, it was not too long, because as I was on my way to death row, the transportation officers got word that, hey, bring that singer back here. The Supreme Court just overturned the death penalty. Yeah. So before you know it, there I am back in county jail, and went to my resentencing with Judge John S. McInerney, a great jurist, and he's retired now, just a great human being. He said to me in the resentencing, he says, Mr. Stevenson, I'm happy that I don't have to sentence you to San Quentin's gas chamber again, but I'm going to sentence you to new life. And your sentence now is 7 to life. And if you would, do the court a favor, whereas the district attorney or myself would not be able to get people's attention to the downfalls and the detriment of drugs. Mm-hmm. So if you would, go to prison and be an evangel for me, if you would. And little did he know that's exactly what I did when I went to the joint. Yeah, 36 years, groups and positive. I re-educated myself. Mm-hmm. Just all the therapy and everything, the things I had to come to grips with about me as a human being, and all the time kicking and cleaning up, and that's when I got slapped to my knees and found my Lord and Savior, accepted the Lord in my heart, and my whole life changed. Compliments of Judge Mack and just everybody. Once the death penalty was over with, the new life, I was sentenced to new life, and changed me. It changed me. It's the man you see here today. That's 40 years clean and sober. 40 years clean and sober, Toots.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
The Moyer Entertainment Group, in conjunction with ProMark, Dunlop, and Deadline Media, is keeping music in our local schools and presenting local talent to the world through the Temecula Valley Music Awards. Submissions for entry into the TVMA 2017 season are now open in all genres, including a youth category for artists under 18 for the October 7th Star-Studded Awards Show, where 100% of the proceeds go towards supporting local music education in the Temecula Valley. Details, tvmawards.org.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Well, I commend you because, it's bad enough when you do something wrong. Anybody does something wrong. You have to pay the consequences.
Do the crime,
but when you do
the time.
something
yes,
that you
Lord.
just cannot reverse, and that's taking a life, you cannot reverse that.
No.
Whether it's, through murder or, through a vehicle accident or whatever,
Yes.
you can't reverse that. So that's something that, you've been living with for so long. How do you do that?
Well, prayer helped me a lot. And I had great family, as you can see here, friends of the court. The guards treated me respectfully as I was to them. Mm-hmm. And I could walk the big yard and mingle with whites, blacks, Chicano, Asians, Samoans, just anybody and everybody because of the music.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's what had my back. The Lord had my back.
Yeah.
And it was the music that gave me the credibility, the props, to be able to just go into any weight pile and be accepted.
Yeah.
And not have to just, quite naturally, I'm going to use my peripheral vision. But like I say, the music, I know who was welcoming me and who was kind of shady. So I'd shy away from that. But it was quite the thing. But from the very beginning, I took responsibility for what I did. And like I say, you do the crime, you do the time, and Lord knows I did some time. But
no, you were denied parole a few. How come?
17 times. It was always some technicality that they would find. Mm-hmm. For now. Why now? I never got a infraction. They call them 115s or write-ups. Mm-hmm. All through my stay in the joint, I never got a write-up. Stayed clean and clear, and that's what eventually worked on my behalf when I found the right lawyer, Peter J. Bolden, out of Sacramento. What a guy! And he kept petitioning the courts because the technicalities they were using were totally illegal.
Oh boy!
Oh yeah, and they would find me unsuitable based on they couldn't charge me for anything other than the crime.
Yeah.
And the California Supreme Court had already ruled that you cannot use the crime because that's never going to change. But I changed. Mm-hmm. So eventually, Peter found the law that benefited me, and Judge, Santa Clara County Judge, found that if the board didn't do their job as finding me suitable, the court would take jurisdiction over my case. And the next thing you know, next time I went, I found suitable.
Oh, good.
So I was home free. And then Judge Brown signed my parole plans. He was the governor when I came into prison. Uh-huh. He was the governor when I left prison. So, great man.
So how does a person move on after being convicted of something so heinous as murdering two people?
Well, one does a lot of praying, mm-hmm. and one does a lot of the self-realization of realizing that drugs are not the way to go. And anyone out there, I would advise you, please, if you have a problem with drugs, I know where you're coming from, I ask you just please don't go there. Just get help, be it your church, be it your family. There's a lot of the NA and AA groups would serve me well mm-hmm. in the penitentiary. So reach out, and then you're going to get my hookup, Facebook, email, all this new technology and stuff. Yeah. So, if whatever I can do to help you, just call on me. But please don't go there.
Yeah. I imagine once you got clean, how did it feel to be facing the rest of your life incarcerated for something that you was probably an act of passion?
Yes.
Something you just did that because you were under the influence of whatever chemicals you were doing at the time.
Yes, Lord.
What was going through your mind?
Well, after the initial panic and the chaos was over, and I found myself in county jail on my knees, giving it up to my Lord and Savior, just mm-hmm. giving it up to the Lord. And at that point in time is when I had the death penalty. Yeah. I had nothing to gain other than my self-value, and I just knew that I would be taking to my Lord and Savior. I'd be taking a cleaner spirit, a cleaner mind, a cleaner body, and progressively that's how I grew. And I had a lot of help on the way. Judge Mack, my family, all the friends, people in the business that stuck by me for 36 years. My goodness gracious! But it was quite an education, and that's how I grew, mm-hmm. and I just became stronger. Like I say, spiritually, mentally, physically. Working out and doing all that kind of good stuff. I'm 75 years old.
That's hard to believe. I still. My goodness. We should all be in this great condition.
Hey, I ate a lot of garlic and took my vitamins.
And brushed your teeth. And I remember you sending me letters going, did you brush your teeth?
And when in doubt, be sure and dental floss.
There you go.
So it's all good.
Floss. There we go.
So it was just a combination of all those positive things I picked up and just became a part of me and sustained me throughout my life. And now I just received my certificate of discharge. I'm no longer on parole. I can go anywhere and everywhere. So all you agents out there, like Donna was telling you, get in touch and we'll give you the information.
And, we're going to be showing a clip at the end of the show that you performing. Great. You are still amazing.
Great.
You are still amazing.
The voice is still working.
Wow.
The old Mr. Arthritis and the basketball knee may not be up to par, but praise God, my voice is as strong as ever.
Oh, that's great. So how long were you in jail before you were allowed to start performing and getting back into your music?
Not very long.
Okay.
The word of mouth and the media took care of all the information that anybody needed on me, where I was going after the death penalty. I was going to prison. And by the time I got to the joint, they already had care packages and just good, nothing but well wishes, the guards and the convicts. And before you know it, I'm singing with a band on the big yard. I'm over at Chapel doing shows and got approved to go out to the community and do shows. I went to Sacramento. Mm-hmm. I went to Vallejo. I went to Fairfield. I went to Vacaville doing shows for juvenile delinquency prevention groups and churches or whatever. Unheard of. But because of Judge Mack and the officials at that time, Mr. Inamoto, Miss Ruth Russian, they approved me to go out to the community, gave me off ORWA, off reservation, without under escort. Mm-hmm. But it was just so incredible. There I am doing what I do, given the opportunity to do that. So I never stopped singing, and it worked.
Well, the singing, to have a voice like yours is such a gift to begin with, and to be able to share that with others, that had to be part of your redemption.
Yes, Lord.
As well.
Well, my uncle, Ivory Joe Hunter, is a great blues artist back in the 40s and 50s, mm-hmm. and that's how I grew up singing with the family. I was born and raised in Port Arthur, Beaumont, Texas, and across the tracks was none other than Janis Joplin. She and I would talk about all that stupid, ignorant, black, white, colored thing that was going on mm-hmm. back in the day, and that's how I began my whole musical career on stage at about 5 or 6 years old, and just evolved right on into the church, the whole doo-wop era, the whole chitlin circuit, and bam! Before you know it, here I am with the Tower.
Wow.
Paid the dues, Toots. Paid the dues.
That was fantastic. Well, redemption's a rocky road. Was there anything in particular that you had your faith? Was there anything else that really inspired you to move toward a better place?
Well, the people that I read about in the Bible, mm-hmm. Psalms 51 and Psalms 90, I was in God's care. Psalms 51, how David, the changes he went through, Moses, Paul, they were all murderers. They were all killers. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't set myself anywhere, but I recognized, hey, I'm not the only guy. And in Psalms 103, it says, God puts your sins as far as the east is from the west. So I just grew with that in mind, and just learned from them guys how David, the kingship that he did for Israel, Moses and his whole 10 Commandments, and Paul, his conversion mm-hmm. with the Lord. So I say, hey, I'm in good company. Yes, indeed.
You could be a reincarnated disciple and not even know it.
What you say? Well, Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a singer, and David, he played the harp and wrote the psalms, uh-huh. the songs. So you never know.
You don't know.
You never know. Hallelujah.
Yes, and it's your story. You can live it the way you want to. Right?
Got that right.
Wow. Okay, so you spend your time, you get out of prison. That had to be
surreal. Yes,
let's talk about that.
Oh, my Lord, sis. Getting there, I levitated out of the joint and got to my pastor's house, and my son, my grandson, my daughters, friends and relations, the lawyer, they were all there waiting on me, and it was just such a great day that I just couldn't wait to just start my life all over again. And basically that's what I did. July 20th, even though my Gmail is 7/16, that's when the governor signed my parole papers, uh-huh. July 16th. But there was some kind of bureaucratic rigmarole where I didn't leave the joint until the 20th. So I levitated out of there, got to the house, and I'm telling you, them garlic wings, barbecue wings, and the food, it was on. I say, I am free. I'm getting there, Lord. Thank you. And that and this whole cyber thing really was the two main mind bogglers for me, to just realizing how everything had changed so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm now out in the world experiencing all this. So needless to say, to this day, I stay on my knees and give thanks.
So What was it you were craving that, you said barbecue wings. Is that
everything?
Everything?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, greens and yams and gumbo. Oh, yeah. I got a lady, my son's mother, that cooked gumbo, make your tongue slap your brains out. So that was just a combination of just all the great food. Because in the joint, we called it fuel. You didn't get food, you got fuel. Yeah. So if you didn't have any money or had a kitchen connection, you just had to eat just what was there.
With that said, we're going to take another commercial break here.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Fortunately, I had family that would support me, and I worked, quite naturally, I worked for 36 years in the joint.
What did you do?
Oh, God. Anything from sweeping floors to picking up papers off the yard to being the warden's clerk.
Oh.
So I went from very here and went right on up the scale, and just like I say, I educated myself. I learned so much, and I would get like care packages every 3 months. You could get a vendor package, and I'd get my salmon and my tuna and all my extra goodies, spices.
That's why your skin's so nice.
All my spices and everything, extra garlic, and it sustained me, it preserved me, and so here you see what you get.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. So, what's your view of the world? It seems like time you were able to watch the news, you were able to watch things like that. Yeah. So once you were out, what did you see in the world that you thought, I need to either get more involved with this or this needs to change?
I applied what I had done for 36 years in the joint with the self-help groups, the therapy, and everything that was positive I would tune into. And that's what I have done when I'm out here in the world, on the streets. And I've been blessed by people, spokesperson for Goodwill Industries. I've done Make-A-Wish Foundation benefits. You name it. I claim churches. I've given my testimony. Just yesterday, I gave my testimony at a church. So I'm in the process of doing a Amazing Grace tour. So I'm paying back not only for the Lord, but for God's people. And I feel that we're all God's people. You know? And so it's a great benefit to me to do what I do, sing, and like we're doing here today. Thank you again for letting me tell my story.
Absolutely.
Say what?
You also, which I really hated to miss, but 9/11, you performed on 9/11.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh God, it was great at the pastor's church, who was the chaplain in prison at Mule Creek State Prison, Pastor Scott Barham. He invited me to be a part of the 9/11 commemoration for the first responders, the firemen, and the policemen. And I said, man, hook me up, book me. And sure enough, there I was with all those great people that stood up. And it was most gratifying.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was it like reuniting with the Tower of Power?
Oh. It was one of those surreal moments again, especially the first time. It was my daughter Dawn Renee's birthday, and the kids were at the show. It was at Jack London Square at Yoshi's, and that was the first time with the Tower. I later did some shows at Bimbo's, which I understand you're going to be showing, which is great. Thank you. And Emilio Castillo and Steve Kupka, the Doctor, and Rocco on bass, and Garibaldi on drums, and that's the only original guys that still left. And they got a great complement of musicians now. Roger on keyboard, and Pat, and Tom Pulitzer. It's been so many new guys that I'm still learning who they are. But that first time, I'm telling you, it was just like. And quite naturally, I prayed, because I get butterflies even here today. That apprehension just makes it, Lord, just guide my words, guide my heart. Make it be positive, make it be loving. And when they hit that ba-da-da-da, he's still a young man, he introduced me. And sure enough, Mimi said, he says, ladies and gentlemen, the original singer. And it just goes to show you that there is a God working on behalf of all of us. And it was just so prophetic, so nice of him to not only invite me, the guys, but and after that, it was just like I had never left.
Oh, boy.
That first note went down on my knees. It was on after that.
Yeah, they gave me chills.
It was
definitely gave me chills.
Me too. And I
just want to let everybody know, you can check these YouTube clips out on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And boy, if they don't give you chills, you're just they're just
excuse me.
Go ahead.
All my shows with the Escovedos, all my shows with the Tower, and guys, Carlos Reyes, Tony Lindsay from Santana's band, and I just been blessed, so supportive. They keep me humble, which is cool. You know what I'm saying? So it's all there on YouTube.
Oh, the performances are fabulous.
Yes.
And Jeff Temelier, I want to talk about Jeff for a minute, because I love him. I love Jeff. He's what a salt of the earth. Just a wonderful man.
Did 12 years with the Tower, I think he stayed, and I call him the Funk Meister, because he's so funky. You know what I'm saying? And we've done one project together. It was called Rick Stevens Back on the Streets Again, Volume 1 CD, and in the process of eventually, we're talking about doing Volume 2. So I will keep you informed.
Okay.
So you can let everybody know.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's at his studios in Sacramento.
Track Shack.
Track Shack.
Yeah.
Jeff Temelier.
Pete Rose on keyboards, and Chuck Hansen. What a great human being he is.
Wow.
They welcome me with open arms, and it's been just great ever since.
Oh, that's fabulous.
But I'm going to be doing my own original stuff now. I'm doing primarily some cover tunes, but eventually me and my son, CC, he's going to be producing some original material, so we'll keep you informed.
Okay.
So when that project happens.
Well, we're I can't believe we're out of time.
No.
We are.
We're just getting warmed up.
I know. We have so much to talk about. And that's all for Story Connection. But join us next time for another compelling story, because that's what we're here for. We're here to tell stories, people's stories. There's so many of them to tell.
Amen.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the show and telling
welcome.
Yours. I adore you and appreciate.
Easy now. Easy. You know I'm not married.
I am. Okay. But I appreciate all that you're doing. And I know that you're a positive light and that you're spreading it everywhere that you possibly can.
Yes,
and we
you.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you,
Yeah. So we're going to go out with your performance at Bimbo's.
Great.
Okay, so I hope everybody enjoys that. But first, I'd like to thank my crew. They're a volunteer crew. I love them to death. Rick and David, Lorene, and Tony, thank you so much. Check out my books at DannaWilberg.com. The Red Chair, The Gray Door, The Black Dress comes out in November. And one last question before we roll that beautiful bean footage. What's your story? Good night, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, one of the great soul singers of our generation, Mr. Rick Stevens.
Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. Pitbull Audio.